let me do some quick intro of the alumni who are joining us for this chat. Okay, and then after that, I think they will do some sharing on their own. So I'll just do a quick one. So I got Yihan from class of 2012, right? He's the SAF officer that I mentioned, right? I think SA is very proud of him, and we're also proud of him. Okay, and okay, so, over there is listed his where he has gone for university and what degree he's been doing. Brandon Lin, right? Class of 2013, right? He was our council president, and of course, he is also our president scholar. So now working in Ministry of National Development. Next one. Okay, we have Dr. Justin Ernst, right? Medical officer at SGH. And then this class of 2013, we have Jocelyn, class of 2016. She graduated from Imperial College with biochemistry management, very interesting combination. Then she's now studying at the London Business School for her master in management. We have Belle, class of 2018, I think one of the youngest here in this group. Okay, she's right now still studying in Stanford University in material science and engineering. Right, so with that, let me put them out on screen, and then we'll get them to take turn to share about their life in our school or right now what they have. Okay, who want to start first? We start with Yihan.
Yeah, sure. Can I just check whether can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me just see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, do you want to share your slides? I can put it up live for you.
Yes. Can I?
Okay.
I can request for control.
Let Yihan have the control. Yes, we can see your screen now.
Yes, you can see, right? Okay. Yes. So I'll just start off with a brief introduction of myself. My name is Yuhan. I'm from the class of 2012 from NUS High. Just some quick background on what I did in NUS High. I majored with honors in math, biology, and chemistry, and then I majored in physics. Most of my time outside of academics was spent in a few CCAs. There was student council, which I spent majority of my time. I was in Gavel Club from year 1 to year 4, and then from year 5 and year 6, I joined the Outdoor Adventure Club. After I graduated, I went to Yale. Was the class of 2017, so I graduated about 4 years ago. I did a Bachelor of Arts in Global Affairs, and then I spent most of my time outside studying, playing in the school's ultimate frisbee team. And then now I am an infantry officer in the Singapore Army, so it explains the photo in the bottom. Yeah, the photo at the top is the last one I could find of my mentor group, somewhere in the middle, I think. Yeah, so I was just thinking what is it that I can share that would be beneficial to you guys, and I think I just have a quick three main points I wanted to share, which is how do I think that NUS High has shaped me today, right? And I think the first one is on, I'll just run through quickly and then I can have any questions after that, so that don't take up too much time. The first one that I think is that NUS High has shaped me in the way that I think, and I mean it in a way that is relevant even if you're not doing any STEM subjects or careers. So as you can see, after I graduated from NUS High, even though I did a math and triple science, I went on to do global affairs, which is like international relations, history, political science. So in a way, it was completely unrelated. And I think a lot of the concerns that people have is, if I graduate from NUS High and decide that I want to study something else, am I equipped to be able to do so, right? Or am I restricted to studying just STEM subjects? I think definitely there will be a learning curve at first when you pick on something that is not STEM, but then you realize that the way of thinking, the way of structuring your ideas logically, helps you even in a non-STEM subject. So I give a quick example. Even when I was writing my final year paper, I realized that I was still thinking very logically and very structurally, and then I think that training comes from, how they teach you how to write a scientific report, back in NUS High. So I think that's something that was very relevant to me. The second point I want to make is on the leadership experience. I think compared to other schools, NUS High, being a very small school, gives you a lot more leadership experience. So for me, it was a very new school, it was a very agile school. There are a lot of things that were changing. And I think as a student leader in council and some of the CCAs, I think it gave me a lot of chances to really pioneer new things and not be stuck with what history or what your past predecessors had done. I think that was the second thing that so-called influenced me to move from a leadership experience in NUS High to eventually becoming joining the army as an officer. And I think the last thing that really shaped me was in terms of the friendships that I took away. This one really, I think it's based on a few things, because number one, you share such a unique experience with a small group of cohort, and this is really an experience that is unlike other people. You go out and you realize that a lot of NUS High people, whenever we even in army or in uni or even at work, right? Once you realize someone is from NUS High, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, hey, then you start talking about things in NUS High that nobody who did A levels or went to polytechnics know about. And I think that just forms this very small community. We had a lot of we had the boarding program, the hostel program in year 5. I think that was a great chance to get to know yourself and to know your friends, and to also prepare you for living abroad after NUS High. So the two pictures that I shared, one was that was my roommates in my boarding year 5 program when we graduated, and then the bottom picture was us, just last year before when we could still meet up. And we've been friends for more than half our lives now. It's been like we were friends in 2007, so it's been 14 years. Yeah, so it's been more than half our lives, and I think that these are the 3 biggest takeaways I think I have from NUS High. Yeah, that's all from me. I'll just leave it to the rest for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ihan. Okay, this announcement to all the parents and students who are attending this talk, right? So please, now the questions that you want to ask the alumni, please post it on the questions panel so that we can ask the alumni directly, right? So let's pause the questions on the questions on admissions and portfolio, because they can't answer for you. Maybe they can ask them what portfolio did they submit many years ago. I think they may remember, I think highly doubt so. Okay, but you can ask. Okay, still, so therefore, really take the opportunity to hear from them what they are doing now. What do you think NUS High School diploma has benefited them, etc. Right, that would be the most useful way to tap on this live chat with the alumni. Next, I'll get Brandon to share slides and his views about the school or what he's doing right now.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my slides are a little simpler than Rihan's. I just have photos, so hopefully you can hear and I'll go through my background. So hi everyone, I'm Brendan. I'm from the class of 2013, so 1 year Rihan's junior, and actually I was his successor as council president, so you can see Rihan's here, I'm here from many years ago, and then our successors. So Rihan and I actually have very similar backgrounds. I was also in Gavel Club the year after him, but of course with a different group of people. And in NUS High, I studied biology and chemistry honors and math and physics major. So basically, I focused more towards the bio and chem side. And this is actually a photo I took in Christmas Island of birds. We were just at Christmas Island for a biology field trip, and just an example of the kind of experiences and opportunities you can have at NUS High. I think this particular program has been discontinued, unfortunately, at this point, especially with COVID. But it's just an example of really the kind of resources that NUS High gave me in studying there. Some of these other photos I'll come back to, but just to give a bit more intro on what I'm doing now. So I recently, well, maybe not so recent anymore, 2 years ago, I graduated from Harvard, where I also studied biology. So you can see here some photos I took on various field trips there. This is my hard copy thesis, and my lab principal investigator, Professor Nomi Pierce, who I studied under at Harvard. So Harvard was, even though I did what was called integrated biology there, that's basically ecology and evolutionary biology. But I also did liberal arts, so effectively looking at history, politics, literature, and all sorts of other subjects. And so I just wanted to really echo Rihan's point just now that even though in NUS High I mostly focused on math and science, that kind of logical thinking, as well as the classes I took in history and geography and English, which is our equivalent of the GP classes, really set me up very well for going on to Harvard and doing other things outside of math and science. So currently, I'm at the Ministry of National Development. So I look after the NParks desk. So I'm not at NParks, but overseeing the NParks policies. So looking after things like our transformation into a city in nature, so doing tree plantings and really greening Singapore up, looking after Gardens by the Bay policy, and most recently the Singapore Green Plan, which I hope you've heard of in the news over the past few months. Looking back at NUS High, besides the resources and the leadership opportunities, I really wanted to talk a little bit more about the people and the fact that we have such a small cohort size. I think my batch was about 200, not sure what the current one is, but our cohort sizes are in general much smaller than other JCs and secondary schools. And that really, over 6 years, brought us all together. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm not as smart as many of my classmates. Many of them are really geniuses, but the fact that I was able to learn from them over 6 years and become good friends with them and really grow up together, that was a really special part of NUS High for me. So I'll leave more of it for questions if you have any, and hand over to the next person. Thanks.
Thank you, Brandon. Maybe I'll pass the time to Belle. I should start with the ladies first. I forgot about it. Sorry about it.
Okay,
Belle, after that, just.
Yeah.
Pass the time to Belle.
Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen, but it's not.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're now live. I think you can share your screen now.
Okay.
All right, we can see your screen.
Yep. Hi everyone, my name is Belle and I'm currently a third-year undergraduate student studying material science and engineering at Stanford University. I guess start with a fun fact about me. My name Belle actually comes from the scientist Alexander Graham Bell and not the princess. So I'm from a very much science-loving family that and got exposure to science at a very young age. And when I first went into NUS High School, I considered applying. Very honestly, I wasn't actually very sure I liked math and science at all, partly because I wasn't doing very well in science in primary school. But I kind of took the leap of faith and applied for the DSA, and looking back at the experience, I really had a very good one. I think my biggest takeaway from NUS High School, coming from a very science perspective, is that science is not only like memorizing from the textbook or gaining technical knowledge, but it is a way of thinking, and it is a very good way to look at the technical perspective of solving problems. And I think NUS High, or my NUS High experience, has really helped me shape my holistic way of problem solving beyond like solving scientific problems, but also allowing me to now collaborate with many people around the world and think about the world's biggest problems and helping to solve some of them. So my three biggest takeaways from NUS High School itself is that one, in terms of science perspective, just staying scientifically curious and being curious about every single thing around you. And that's because I had a lot of fun doing research, especially in NUS High. As Mr. Goh mentioned previously, everyone had to do a research project, and I really liked the experience of just being very free to solve and look at different scientific problems that are beyond the textbook. Yeah. One of my biggest experiences or happiest experiences with NUS High also is that ability to travel overseas. I actually went for overseas trips 8 times with the school, of which 7 of them were 75% to 100% subsidized. And I think it's very hard to find the kind of experiences in other schools, but allowing me to go overseas actually created that worldly experience that I have now and allows me to critically think about a lot of the scientific problems that affect not only Singapore, but a lot of people beyond the world. And then beyond science, I also participated in a lot of other activities that also allow me to go overseas, including our overseas volunteering trips. I was part of Students' Council as well, and I was part of the debate CCA for 6 years. So as a whole, my scientific skills were developed, but not only that, the other skills outside of science that are required for like real life situations were also developed. And now I'm very excited about participating as a scientist in solving like the world's problems. Yep. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now next we have Jocelyn. Let's put Jocelyn on live.
Okay.
Yes, Jocelyn, you're now live.
Let me see if I can share my content. I think this is it. Wait, can you guys see it? Like the main
Yes.
screen or?
Can now?
Okay. Hi, so I'm Jacelyn and I'm from the class of 2016. So like the rest, I'm just gonna give you guys a quick introduction to myself. I did bio and physics honors in high school and majored in chem and math. So in my time in high school, I spent a lot of time on like the extracurricular leadership stuff. So I was in student council, I was involved in house, and I was also fortunate to be part of the organizing team for orientation, homecoming, SIMC. It's kind of an international math and science fair, math competition that we hold every few years, and we also kind of started this event called NUS High Excite, which is like a house, not house, like a school spirit carnival. Yeah. So I can go into my time at NUS High later on, but after NUS High, I graduated and went to Imperial College London. And so I think Mr. Goh mentioned that biochemistry of management is actually a very unique or interesting subject choice. And I think that was very much influenced by my time in NUS High. So I really enjoyed the whole science education and how it gave me the analytical and critical thinking skills I needed. And I felt it was actually very useful in all the leadership management things that I did in high school. And I knew that I wanted to pursue that in the future, which is why I kind of did a mix of both. And after my undergraduate, I chose to pursue a master's at London Business School, doing a master's in management there. And right now I am based in London, so it's about 3 a.m. my time. So yeah, and yeah, but it's still very energetic. Yeah, and all this, like my time overseas is basically funded by Changi Airport Group. So I was awarded a scholarship when I graduated. Yeah. And on to NUS High. I think my three biggest takeaways from NUS High can be summarized into people, opportunities, and challenge. So I think it's something that both Yuhan and Brendan mentioned, that the cohort is actually very, very small. So each cohort is about 100 to 150 to 200 students. And this is very, very different from what you would get from like your Hwa Chong and Raffles. Like you have a huge cohort. And typically, I think like the other alumni have mentioned, whenever someone says, oh, hey, do you know this person from NUS High? It's almost always, oh, yes, I know them. And it's not just people from your batch, but people from the batch above, below. It's a very tight-knit community. And I found that wherever I am in the world, so for example, when I visited Edinburgh, when I visited Stanford, Berkeley in California, I could always find someone from NUS High there, be able to catch up with them because of that close and tight-knit community that I've developed over the years. And I think something else to mention was that everyone had very diversified interests and passions. And that's actually going to link to the next point about opportunities, just because it's kind of like a numbers game, right? You already have a small cohort, and within that small cohort, there will be even lesser people who are interested in the same things that you are interested in. So because of that, I felt like I was given a lot of opportunities in terms of traveling, like Belle mentioned, on exchange programs, on academic programs, in terms of leadership, where I felt like most or almost everyone I knew was a leader in their own right. So you had CCAs, you had house, you had council, you have your interest groups, and there's so many opportunities there for people to basically pursue what they like. And I think that was something that really stood out to me. Yeah. And the last bit about the challenge, I feel like NUS High, they really stretched me in terms of academics and personal development. So academics wise, I felt like whatever we learned in high school was actually quite advanced. And I didn't realize it till I entered university. And I realized that everything's been so familiar, basically. So in my first year, everything was basically a revision of what I had done in year 5 and year 6. And I felt that was actually very useful because this allowed me to basically pursue other things when I was in the UK and here in London. So I didn't have to spend tons and tons of times going through notes, but rather I can go and enjoy life and basically see other parts of the world. That's in terms of academics, but also in terms of personal development. So I felt like, okay, it's a bit hard to tell, but back in the day, I was a bit quieter, not as outspoken. And I think taking on the role as house captain basically pushed me to be more outspoken, to be more outgoing. And I think this is just one of the few instances where I felt like I was properly challenged and stretched in my time in NUS High. And obviously, one experience will lead to another, and I felt like in NUS High, my biggest takeaways is that I think it basically kickstarted the whole process of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you're always being met, or you're always being presented with challenges and problems that you may not find easy. You'll always struggle with it, but through that struggle, I felt like I came out stronger. So I felt like, yeah, that was one of the few things that I had taken away. And yeah, so that's it for now from me, and I'll pass the time on to someone else. Yeah.
Then we'll wrap up. Down that, then we can go for the Q&A.
Okay, hello. Let me just share my content.
Yes.
Yes. Is it sharing at the moment?
No.
Sorry about the technical error. Give me some time here.
Okay, while we resolve the technical error, just want to address one of the key highlights that many of the alumni are sharing is that they travel overseas many times, right, in the stay here. I think many of them travel overseas more often than me when they're in NUS High School. I think 8 is the record so far, I think. 8 times in the course of 6 years, that's remarkable. And almost everyone will be fully 100% funded. So, okay, so that's why our current students, they miss that a lot. They hear from the seniors that they will travel everywhere, but now for these 2 years, okay, they can't travel anywhere beyond Singapore. So I think they lament, but I think this will pass eventually, and we'll get back to our offline days. In the previous years, the NUS High School, when we do the overseas trips opportunity, we will, it's much like NAFA fair, travel fair. It's like, wow, I got 50 trips that I need to plan throughout the whole year. Okay. Great. We see your screen.
Okay, that's great. Let me play it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi. Okay, so my name is Justin. I think I will wrap up the alumni panel sharings. So essentially, I'm from the class of 2013, similar to Brendan. And I did my honors in biology, chemistry, and physics, as well as a major in mathematics. So just to quickly share what I'm currently doing at the moment. So I graduated from the Yong Lin School of Medicine in NUS from the class of 2019, so 2 years ago. And I've been through multiple rotations in various hospitals, and now am training to be a pediatrician in National University Hospital, or NUH. Yeah. So interestingly, I just wanted to point out that the photo right on the bottom right with 4 of us, actually all the guys are from NUS High. So okay, yeah. Anyways. So I just wanted to share, I think it's amazing how 5 of us didn't come together to plan what we're going to say. And actually everybody is mentioning kind of similar points and echoing each other. So now I'll just kind of once again reinforce all these points. So I think one thing that's very nice about NUS High is that the school is very small and we are in very small mentor groups. So of course there are many opportunities to meet various people, and I think at the end of 6 years we were all very buddy with each other. We could go around the school and just say hi to one another, even if we're not in the same class. So of course there was boarding school or hostel where you can see that Brendan is also in the photo. We dressed up to be the Avengers, and to the right you have my orientation core team where we planned orientation in 2013, and we remained quite tight after school. And of course, my various mentor class, so my class in year 3 and year 5, as well as the student council that was a part of, as well as in year 3. Yeah, so I think because we are all so small and so tight together, we kind of know one another. And even after school ended and we have all gone our own ways, you know, now and then as we bump into each other outside, we often have things to talk about. And even though, you know, we come from different backgrounds, we are now doing different things, but there's always things to reminisce about NUS High days. And the other thing is, of course, the amount of opportunities that you have in NUS High, and like what Jacelyn mentioned, it's a numbers game. So there's a lot of opportunities, whether it be in research. So as you can see on the left side, we've been to SSEF, which is the Science and Engineering Fair, whereby
I'm still seeing your first slide. Are you moving your slide?
Yeah, I'm moving my slides.
Oh, but I can't. I can only see your yes, now I can see. Yes,
yeah.
Now I can see.
Okay. Let me maybe just expand this so that it becomes bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now you can see my second slide, right?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So essentially, I just wanted to mention the boarding school, my team in orientation, as well as the various classes, my year 6 class, my year 3 class, and my student council body in year 3. Okay, and then yeah, and the last one. Okay, now you can see my third slide.
Yes.
Yeah. So essentially, this is the slide where I wanted to mention just about the opportunities that we have in NUS High, whether it be in research, whether it be going overseas. Of course, going overseas is a huge team, right? So went to XLab in 2013, went to International Science Fair in 2012. So all these were all research and learning opportunities that we had very good access to NUS High. And of course, even leadership as well. We are a small school and we get to work on orientation. You know, this whole big group of people are the wonderful people that I worked together with for Orientation 2013. And of course, I think in many ways we learn differently. So we went to, we had a trip to Tioman in 2012, whereby we learned about marine biology and the biology at Tioman Island. So I think overall, you know, there's a lot of opportunities that's waiting for you if you join the school. And I think overall the curriculum, I mean, it's challenging, but I do agree that, you know, at the end of it, a lot of us come to learn that, hey, actually, when we go to uni, it's very useful because there are a lot of things that we have already learned, and it's quite familiar to all of us, and it makes things very much easier when we transition from high school to uni. So I think overall, the few points that we have all mentioned, even though we didn't plan, is the multiple trips overseas, you know, the very nice cohesive environment whereby all of us kind of know one another, and the multiple opportunities that we have. So yeah, I think I'll just end here and pass the time on.
Great, thank you. Okay, so let's unshare so that all faces can be seen. Okay, now maybe I'll pose a question to the alumni, and then anyone of you can take it. The one question is about how do you find yourself as compared to your A-level peers, right, or the IB peers, right? When you go to these universities, do you find that actually you think differently or you act differently compared to them? Anyone wants to? You just raise your hand. Let me know. That we just pass the screen to you. Okay, Belle, pass the time to Belle.
Yeah, I can start first since I'm still in university. Yeah, I do feel like the biggest advantage that we have actually starts before university itself. So in year 6 or JC2, where most of my A-level friends are like busy studying for the exam, for us, I always used to tell people that we have the JC2 stress, but it's spread out over like many different years. And I think that is very helpful because it frees up a lot of your time to do a lot of extracurricular activities which make you stand out for your university applications. Then when it comes to university itself, I think that flexibility NUS High gave me in my curriculum and that empowerment that I have to just keep asking questions actually makes it very helpful in university when a lot of things are not as guided and it's really up to you to do a lot of independent study. So in terms of that aspect, I got very used to trying to find new realms of information on my own or just going up to the teacher or professor in class to ask more information about how to study this particular subject better. And we actually got that training in NUS High itself.
All right, good. Any other alumni want to take that question? Okay, Jacelyn, then followed by Brandon.
Okay, so I think for me, it's similar to what Belle mentioned, and I think I touched on this previously where I mentioned that I think the curriculum at NUS High is quite advanced, so it helped me a lot in university. But on top of that, I feel like because of the experiences and opportunities that I got in NUS High, I felt like it helped me develop more as an individual. In terms of, for example, I had done a lot of leadership stuff in council, in like house. So a lot of that basically I could carry forward, and I felt like in university, not many of my peers from other JCs would have had similar experiences as myself to plan like big events, to organize, to manage many different people. So I felt like that was kind of very different. I think the last thing that was different for me was that I think at NUS High we had a very collaborative environment, just because we're not graded on like bell curve like most other schools are, and like the whole A-level system is basically a bell curve, right? So for us, I felt like a lot of my peers, it was a very supportive environment that I grew up in at NUS High. And I think it was something that upon reflecting with my friends from other JCs, they mentioned that it was not very prevalent there as compared to what it was in NUS High. So yeah.
All right, thank you. Now Brenton's time.
So I echo everything that Belle and Jasmine have just said. A few things I wanted to add on. The first one is that the grounding in science at NUS High definitely helped me both in uni and now in my job, because even though it's a policy job that I'm doing right now, it's still valuable to have like these basic concepts to be able to understand the science that underlies things. For example, with NParks and greenery, obviously there's a lot of science there, but it also goes beyond to things like survey design, which we learned about this in statistics in NUS High as part of like the math and science curriculum. And so like that kind of thing is very applicable to many jobs, and to mine as well right now. The other thing that I wanted to mention, building off of Jason's point, was in addition to the cooperative environment, I think also like the other part is that there's also a lot of like freedom and inclusiveness that we feel, so that people really don't feel pressure to like or pigeonholed into a particular area or way of thinking. Like I think we're willing to embrace being nerdy if we are, or our other passions if we're not. And so just having that freedom to develop yourself is something that I really appreciated at NUS High, and like just having peer acceptance and teacher acceptance as well. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Now I'll ask the next question. One question asked, do you know only sporty person in our school? Do we just do math and science? Maybe Ihan can answer.
Yeah, I mean, I can. I think there are definitely people who will continue to go and do sports and music and arts lah. So, I mean, I know of a few examples of people who were competitively involved in sports even after NUS High. I think Brendan's class and Justin's class also had a few that I can think of. I think their class probably more so than my class. Yeah, but I think you, like, for example, personally, right? I mean, I wasn't like super competitive in sports or anything. Just to break the stereotype that you have to be very sporty in order to join the army. But when I was in year 4, I remember I was taking wushu lessons outside of NUS High, right? Just in my own free time, because it was something that I started, and then NUS High supported me to go for the competition, even though there was no wushu CCA in NUS High at all. So yeah, definitely I think the opportunities are there to for people to explore and take lah. Which let me just touch on I think I was just looking through the Q&A. There were questions on like pressure. Is there a lot of pressure in NUS High? I actually think that is less so when I look at myself compared to my friends who did A-levels, because in fact, closer to A-levels, right? So closer to the end of J2, right? You'll find that NUS High students are actually a lot more carefree and have a lot more time to think about what they want to do with their lives after graduation than their A-level peers, because they're actually not studying for A-levels because there are no A-levels, right? So I think NUS High students in general, they get more time to apply for the universities, think through which schools they want to go to, what they want to study, and they're not so caught up in the whole machinery of just passing a national exam. I think that's one, which I think could also lead back to why I think one of the questions was, it seems like a big proportion of us go overseas, right? I don't know what's the proportion in other schools, but if I were to guess, I think we have a slightly higher proportion that goes overseas, and I think that could also be because in your final year before you graduate, you actually have more time to think about and to apply for your scholarship in the different schools that you want to go to. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we also have 2 full-time college counselors to support the students' applications as compared to a part-time ECG counselor in most JCs. Maybe Justin, you want to add anything? By the way, alumni, please look through the questions in the panel, and you can feel free to answer any of the questions, right? So I'm not curating questions for you to answer, and just happen to facilitate, right? So if you've got questions that you'd like to answer, please do so. Just raise your hand, and we'll just pass the time to you. We fully trust your answers. Yeah, Justin.
Okay, so I mean the initial question was about sporty friends lah. So yes, we have sporty, very very sporty friends who run really quickly. They run really fast, and they do all sorts of. We have people in canoe polo. You and I were both from ODAC. We still do sports. I mean, of course, as much as we like to embrace being nerdy and all that, but I think we still do quite a lot of all these studies. And I think like what I've answered quite a few questions on the chat, but I think some people are also worried about transition to from primary school to NUS High. So I mean, I must admit that when I first came in from primary school, of course it's a very different environment, right? Even transiting to a usual the secondary school that runs the O levels and A levels, it was already quite intimidating. But going for NUS High, we run a modular system. We suddenly have to take 3 sciences instead of 1. There is definitely a lot to cope with and a lot to juggle. But I feel like because we all start out feeling that way, but we are a very small cohort, and we kind of work with one another, and we eventually learn to make it. And initially I promise that even though I'm now here and all that, I didn't do very well also. But we all make it eventually, and we take our own paths, and eventually we all make it out of NUS High lah. So I would say that initially, yes, it may be a bit difficult, but most of us do make it in the end. So not to worry too much. And of course, I think recently, back then when we were in school, there was also that change whereby year 1 and year 2 was not considered. I think the grades, I'm not too sure whether that's still in place, but you don't have to worry so much, so you can focus on the learning and learning how to learn, essentially. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question on, do you think over here the school allows rooms for mistakes and errors and exploration? Any of the alumni wish to take this one? Brendan?
Maybe I can go first. So I think this links back to what Belle was saying in response to one of the previous questions, which is I think the single biggest mistake that you're allowed to make in NUS High, which you can't make in the other systems, is that you can mess up for like 1 semester or one module or even a year without affecting like everything. So it really gives you time to like build yourself up like over the 6 years, and there's forgiveness just built into the grading system. Because we take results from all 6 years and not just 1 O-level exam or 1 A-level exam. So for just one example, my fiance, she actually got dengue during one of the final exam periods. And so it like disaster, right? You're in hospital, no time to study, no energy to study. And then she came back and she didn't do so well for her exams, but it didn't matter because she had the full 6 years of exams that were averaged out effectively. And she was still able to get into medical school. So she was actually in the same batch as Justin there. So in that way, mistakes are allowed structurally. And I think this also extends more broadly to like in CCAs. I don't think we take ourselves too seriously. And also another aspect is research projects, which I think Mr. Goh mentioned earlier on. I think in research, you just have to be willing to accept mistakes. Like that is part of the normal scientific process. And like sometimes your hypothesis will be correct, sometimes it won't. And so all of that just provides some flexibility for you to make mistakes in NUS High.
All right. Anyone else want to add on? Okay, Belle?
Yeah, I can answer this question and I guess address another question in the chat about the flexibility of the curriculum and whether, coming in, you need to have like the top tier like math and science grades, right? I think the answer is no, precisely because there is, as Brendan mentioned, like the flexibility in that grading system. So I can talk a bit about my own personal experience. I guess coming in with like mediocre science grades at first, maybe definitely a bit apprehensive because I remember in my DSA camp, there were people like talking about the elements in the periodic table that I never even heard of. So I was thinking, maybe I won't get in and that's fine. But I think the most important thing that the school is definitely looking out for is that potential, right? So the idea that if you can think about things logically in science problems and math problems as well, you don't need to necessarily have that prior background before coming into the school. And then when you come into the school really rehashes that. And that's what I really felt throughout like my entire education in NUS High School, because all of us in year 1 could take like Math Olympiad, even if we did not have like previous Math Olympiad training in primary school as well. And I think the opportunity to start at a clean slate and really assessing your potential based on what you learn in NUS High rather than your previous background knowledge that you might have is something that I really appreciated. And because I think NUS High understands that, not everyone starts off at the same level, they really give you a lot of flexibility as well to fail, in a way that there comes the flexibility part, where if you want to try something in NUS High and you're very passionate about it, there is always the avenue of approaching any teacher that might have the resources to help you cultivate that passion that you have. And this is something that I did not see in other schools, and it is also hard to find in universities sometimes as well. So it is a really unique and supportive environment that I'm very happy to be part of. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a question which I think really deserves our attention. Do you feel that you miss out something in NUS High unlike your counterparts from other streams? So there must be something that we don't do so well. If not, that this ideal heaven system, not real. Okay, Yuhan?
Yeah, I can go. I mean, I think that's a very good question, right? And I mean, the point of this alumni chat is not just to share whatever that is glorified and fancy, right? So I would say that the biggest so-called drawback from NUS High compared to other schools that I experienced, right, is that in my 6 years, I was exposed a lot more to math and science opportunities and careers after graduation than to options that are not math and science. Right, and I think that's natural because you're in a math and science school. So even up till when I was in year 5, for example, right, I was like, hey, I'm going to be a doctor, because it's interesting and it's cool and I liked it, right? So I think you will naturally be exposed to the common math and science professions, like being a doctor, engineer, scientist, researcher, teacher, and you'll be a little bit less exposed to all the other so-called different professions out there. But I think this is something that that was unique to my year also, because we were very new school back then. We didn't have any alumni. We didn't have people who have graduated for a few years and have tried different things. So nobody really knew, what could NUS High students do after graduation, right? But I think now that the school is, I can't remember how old the school is, like what, 10 plus years already, at least? Yeah, I think 15 maybe. There has already been a sizable group of alumni who have shown that NUS High students can go out and do other things that are not STEM. And I thought that was the assurance that we didn't have during my time, right? I think when I joined in 2007, what I heard was that the diploma was only accredited by NUS. It wasn't even accredited by the other local universities and overseas universities, right? So it goes back to one of the questions, right, which is in P6, how do you decide this is the school that you want to join? I think my advice to that is it was a leap of faith. Now that I think back about it, it was really a leap of faith, right? I went to the different open houses from the different schools, and I was like, I don't really like that one, I didn't like this one. Hey, this one was really interesting, I liked it. I told my mom, I think this is the one that I went to, and she was like, sure. But I also think that is kind of the mindset that you approach for a lot of different things. I mean, even after NUS High, you will have all these university options open to you, right? And you're going to decide which university you want to go to, and you will never be sure which is the correct one. It's all about a leap of faith, right? Even when you choose a life partner, right? How do you know this person is the one that you want to spend the rest of your life with? It is also a leap of faith. So I think at some point you got to, my advice is that you will decide, weigh just the pros and cons based on the information you have, and then once you pick that choice, and then you just have to dive head in and make the best out of it. And then I think one of the questions also was in terms of the support, right, for people who were not able to cope, whether it's academically, mentally, or psychologically. I think there definitely were people who were not able to do so. Most of the incidents that I saw were people who were not able to cope in certain subjects. Right, so maybe, for example, when you first learn organic chemistry, right? Some people are just like geniuses in organic chemistry, right? They have never learned it before, but the moment they go for the first lecture, somehow they just understand how the whole thing functions. Some people just don't, right? So I've seen people who struggle, and I think I echo what some of my alumni have said, which is that there's a lot of support that's given because the cohort size and the class sizes are so small, right? So there was a lot more support given. Sometimes the support help, sometimes they just don't get it right, and then they don't do well in that specific module, but I think that is that at least is just one of the modules that goes to your final graduation GPA out of the whole 6 years or 4 years worth of subjects. So I think that is the point that I'm coming from. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, who else want to answer this question? Do you feel that you missed out something in NUS High School? Jocelyn?
I wouldn't say it's something that I missed out on, but I think it was something that I definitely felt going into Imperial. So at Imperial, there were a lot of Singaporeans. So in my batch, I think there was like 70 to 80 other Singaporeans. I did not meet all of them, but I met a sizable bunch. And upon interacting with them, I realized that NUS High is quite a bubble. So as what Yuhan mentioned, I think it's because we're very specialized in math and science. So typically the stuff that we go to are like science fairs, and unless you actively put in an effort to attend other things like maybe Model United Nations or non-science, math and science related events, it's very hard for you to kind of interact with other schools. So I felt like people kind of knew each other from, I don't know, other events that I didn't know about previously. So I felt like because of those experiences, NUS High felt like a bubble where I had to find out a lot about like, how the A-level system worked. It was just because NUS High itself is very unique, and because of its opportunities, because of the way that it's structured, I felt that I couldn't relate to some of the things that my other friends were talking about with relation to like A-levels, like there's PW, like project work. And even now I don't have like a very clear idea what it is, but it's enough to kind of like engage in conversation with them. Yeah.
Okay, I think just one last question that any of the alumni wish to answer. Oh, how do you deal with the stereotype that NUS High School students are nerdy and socially awkward? I think that's also a good question. I think we are socially awkward. Justin.
Okay, actually I was going to type the answer already, but anyways, I would say that most of us actually just laugh it off. I mean, in uni, a lot of us get that comment that, oh, you know, NUS High people are always nerdy, a little bit not sure how to interact with other people. I guess to some degree, some of us do identify with it, and that some of us actually are proud of it. But I think at the end of the day, you know, we all kind of feel like we are all just very unique individuals. I feel like in this foreign environment, we kind of learn about each other's unique points, and yeah, I mean, even if people say that, oh yeah, you're from NUS High, you're nerdy, but that doesn't necessarily be the case. You know, some of us go out and they say, you're from NUS High, really? Yeah, but like, yeah, but we don't appear to be socially awkward or nerdy in that sense. So I think it is a common description, but something fun. I mean, we just okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just gonna pitch in here, but like I think it happens a lot where like when you meet other Singaporeans and they ask, oh, which school are you from? Then they'll guess maybe like AC or like Raffles. And we tell them NUS High, they're always like, huh, really? I always thought NUS High people are like very nerdy. So it's always that statement, like no matter who you meet. So I don't know where the stereotype is coming from, but I mean, yeah.
Okay, Belle raised her hand. Let's pass it to Belle.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the nerdy statement a lot, I guess, coming from the science field and the science environment. I think we are, to a certain extent, nerdy, yes, but we are also very accepting because the school really gives us the platform to start like accepting and like interacting with very unique individuals, and we are really okay with being completely nerdy like that. And I think having that acceptive or receptive mentality is a lot more important than being nerdy, because when we go out into our university, we are for me at least, it was a lot easier to kind of adapt to what my university mates were or how they were interacting with or how they interact in general. And maybe that made me less nerdy nowadays, but I think that adaptability to different social cultures that stems from just being all accepting of different unique individuals in NUS High is what I really took away. Yeah.
Thank you. I think I just want to respond to one question because it's very important. As a female student among a larger proportion of males, what were your challenges? If yes, was communication, collaboration in project work a challenge? Okay, Belle or Justin must answer this. Must. Okay, Belle.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you start off in Sec 1 and Sec 2, it's definitely a challenge, right? When most of the guys in your most of the people in your project work group are like mostly guys. But I think it actually became an advantage as I grew older. I guess partly because I was going into a science field where it's already male dominated. But generally the ability to, it's not only like knowing how to interact with guys, but you interact with girls a lot better as well, because the population of girls in NUS High are so much smaller. You get very close to everybody. So I felt like I kind of was able to interact with both genders very well, like after I like graduated from NUS High. Yeah, so it became a plus point, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting take. Jocelyn?
I definitely agree with everything that Belle has said. And as for me, I attended my primary school was basically all girls. So moving into NUS High was like a shock, right? Because you're moving from like all girls school to like a school with a very male-dominated gender ratio, basically. And honestly, I didn't feel like there was much of a challenge, because I think going in, I think everyone, you're kind of like no one sees you as, oh, you're a girl, you can't perform as well as everyone else. Like, I don't think that mindset was really there from the start, or not many people had that to begin with. But I agree with Belle that actually this has helped me a lot in the future too. So I went on to Imperial, which is male dominated. And then now even at LBS, like a lot of like the business sphere is still very much male dominated. So in the end, I think you would learn how to basically learn how to stand up for yourself and have your voice heard in a male dominated context, which I think is very useful, especially now. And you can also learn how to, I guess, push for more recognition for women too. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So I think we exceeded time by about 8 minutes. Okay, but I think we need to answer all these 2 questions at the end. So feel free to stay on for the alumni to answer in writing some of the questions that you think the public should know about our school. Please feel free to do so. But I thank all of you for being here, and for people who stay late 3 a.m. in the morning to come over here. We will never have thought of such things until unless because of COVID, then we had to pivot into online. But we are grateful for all our overseas alumni who come back to do this. Thank you, everyone.